So are we going to see Trix not pick Fenrir here?
I think he might still pick the Fenrir. I just don't think that he's going to be as aggressive, knowing that Splyce is going to adapt with a 3-man rotation. Maybe have actually Trixtank rotate to the opposite side of the map, get variety ahead, make sure that that solo lane is comfortable.
Yeah, that's one thing about Opponent, right? Like, they've started in dual lane with the solo laner in every game. I want to see variety on an aggressive pick like the Erlang we saw yesterday from Rival. Go for the speed buff, go for some aggressive plays, invade all blue buffs. I want to see some control in the solo lane now.
Dig still, banning out the Fenrir themselves now, not going to give it to Splyce, and not even, so it looks like Trix is not going to go with that Fenrir.
Naja's open. I think Dignitas are going to snap pick this.
And
I think so too.
I could totally understand it too with Fenrir and hoping that Splyce wouldn't go into the Awelish as well again, and then the Naja picked.
Between Fenrir and Naja, these are your top 2 contested picks between the junglers / supports, and not allowing Sino to play it is going to give the opportunity for maybe Trixtank to play yet again on the support role. Maybe Qvofred will have a good showing.
Moswal sticking with the Zeus there. If they're going to ban out Alquash, that's fine. I'll handle Zeus.
This needs to be a get pick, I think, from Dignitas.
I agree, get pick. I also want to see the Daji. They have Zeus, Ashen, no CC with ultimates. The Daji controls Zeus late game, mid game really easy.
Well, Mercury.
With the Mercury.
Game number 1, Dignitas did a good job in the late defense. Sonic booms from Qvofred, follow-up from the Chiron plays, but going for a safer Guardian.
A Terra pick. What does Terra offer that Geb doesn't?
Just team fight swings, right?
Yeah.
Like the Earth and Fury damage swing. You're impacting the enemy by reducing their damage by 5%. Your team is getting a 5% damage boost. Geb is more about single target isolation where you're basically peeling, but Terra can peel in a huge AoE.
Splyce going back with that Xbalanque. Even with Apollo open, maybe CycloneSpin didn't feel that he was that effective.
It seems to be a repeat counter towards the Mercury. Game number 1, once Mercury was picked, Xbalanque was picked. You want to not allow Qvofred just the easiest engagements.
But we do have the Geb ban coming out from Dig. They definitely do not want to see Divios again with that Geb blinking in, ulting, and then of course being a tank and supporting your team.
Well, the thing was, Dignitas banned Geb in game number 1 in the secondary phase as well. It's not like they don't respect the Geb. It's just there's so many things you gotta ban at first that you're gonna have to let some things through.
Rom and Chiron being banned out for Splyce, and then Changa ending it for Dignitas there, moving on to the second pick phase. What do you want to see Splyce pick up here?
This could be a solo lane pick. Artio known to be played by Aror consistently, and
ooh, the rat!
Surprised to see the rat. We saw Thor yesterday from adapting, but this is a different take on the global pressure. And when you're trying to dive the back line or maybe play cleanup, Ratatoskr is the way to go when Mercury's already taken off the table.
For sure, and we also have the early pressure from that insane jungle clear, going for invades in the jungle, going to be at the pillar buffs and the red buffs.
But Dignitas coming up with a Cherno here. We saw Cherno did exceptionally well even with a losing team in that last game.
Arkkyl is going to probably look for split pushes if the team is behind. It's always that backup safety net that you need for your teammates. Energy in Season 3, what was it, Panthera / Epsilon in Season 2. Emilito loved global pressure to find that kind of safety net.
Yeah, and definitely what you were saying before, Lasber, that Ratatoskr, it definitely seems that what Apollo offered in that last game, maybe even in Ratatoskr can take some of that in towards the mid and late game. Being able to chase down anyone that lives, and it seems like Splyce does a really good job of backing out when they need to.
Oh, absolutely. The call for aggression seems to be there, but then the discipline disengage from Splyce is certainly there. This is why they have the 2-0 lead over Dig.
But I think even Dignitas has a better discipline in that sense. They were able, even behind, were able to tank and protect their Titan really well.
They love the late game because of their defense, but there's not much defense here because Discordia for Zyrhoes in games 1 and 2 was just not enough. And this is why they're going into the think tank about what they want to pick for Zyrhoes. Discordia was not working out. Thoth is safer in terms of how much distance he covers.
Getting some range to go into Zeus and the edit carry as well, but the red into Thoth is so strong. You can really zone out Thoth. You have the ultimate, you have a stun, you can pull him with your dash.
The duration of the final judgment, or like the channeling of it, is not CC immune. So you can get knocked up, you can get taunted even by this Athena. So it's going to be difficult for Zyrhoes.
Man, I love it though. Every game we're seeing a new comp. We're seeing them kind of adjust and try and figure out where their weak points are. I still don't think Dig is out. The mentality aspect of it, beyond the comp, I think is way more important to look at.
Sure, I think Dignitas are still possibly winning this game if the Mercury gets off to a great start, if the Naja support for Trixtank can find those early game plays. But Splyce is covering their options here with this Athena having a lot of safety peels, for Zeus. Remember, it's all about protecting Moswal. If he doesn't get disrupted early, his damage outwash Zeus or otherwise, he's always looking for it.
So Lasber, are we going to be expecting a lot of pressure now in the mid lane instead of that dual lane, or do you think that we're going to see Divios rotate over again really early?
I think we see Divios again, and I hope that Dignitas is ready for that. I don't know what they exactly should do, because they cannot even start the purple or the red buff, because then the solo lane, the Divios will just come and interrupt them. So I don't know what they actually should do here.
All right, guys, who are we giving it to? Game 3, are you really going to tell me the #1 seed out of EU is going to go 3-0?
I'm expecting Splyce to win this, and it's going to be a clean sweep.
I want to see a Dignitas win here. I'm with the boys.
All right, with the boys, let's find out, everyone. It's game number 3. Let's head to our casters.
Atlanta, Georgia, game number 3 here at HRX. Let them hear it so they know exactly who you want to win. We're split on the desk going into a big match between Splyce and Dig.
I love Dignitas' draft here, I gotta say. I think this is exactly what they needed. They get the Mercury for Qvofred. I think this Naja support for Trixtank can work out very well. Arkkyl played very well in that Chernobog last game. This is the type of draft that I needed to see from Dig.
But it's a lot, I feel like, pressure that's on Trix and Zyrhoes here in this one. And Trix is the one that I think more than anyone's kind of been the focal point. The one who, when someone gets called out, it ends up being him. So he's got to make sure he plays even better than we've seen from up till now on this Naja. Zyrhoes has to be nearly perfect on this Thoth as well to make sure they're getting the max value. I mean, this is a scary match for Dig. It is a good draft, but it's one that could get punished.
And their late game is great. I think that's the big thing. Both games have gone late so far. This is one that can compete.
Well, what do you know? Action in the dual lane yet again, and who's a part of it? It's Divios. But this time they've got variety here as well. Not going to let them do this start for free. CycloneSpin stun, but Aror there to body block, and at least this time it looks like it'll be a 3v3 over in duo. Like,
straight
because,
up.
You know, obviously.
Right, obviously. Good poke, though, from Trixtank with that Universe Ring Toss. Arkkyl's beads were used off that root and slow, though, so he's a little bit more vulnerable than, say, CycloneSpin.
Who's just been stunned out one more time, so he should still be A-okay. Everyone's gonna stick around here for now. Nothing going down over there in Soul Lane, though it looks like the blue buffs were at least picked up as Aror now dashing into the wave, but he could certainly be in some trouble, just barely makes his way back out, even through the horrific.
He's A-okay, no problems there, and it's all about who clears first, and that's gonna be Splyce with this draft. It's a matter of if they can invade this purple. I don't really know that they can, Finch. Naja's so good at this point.
Cyno, though, is able to find Zyrhoes in the middle lane. He was all alone. First blood going the way of Splyce, and that's got to give him a little bit of momentum as they look for this fight. Divios locked down inside those walls. A Variety tries to push further forward, and now Divios is stuck trying to juke inside the camp. He still has the dash. Body blocked, though, and Arkkyl will pick the kill.
Man, that was close. They almost lost another one. Qvo finds that dash on
That's
Cyno, but Cyno still only level 1.
Does have that speed buff trying to help him move, but Qvofred on the fastest god alive is going to try his best to keep the chase. But look at the difference here. Acorn for Cyno, already finished. No way he's catching up.
That's how he killed Zyrhoes. He didn't start with the Assassin's Blessing. He went straight for the full Acorn right away, and that damage must have caught Zyrhoes off guard.
And I imagine that it would have. How often do you see that happening? Is Qvofred just looking for minion clear here in the middle lane? I know it was a bit off camera, so we can get a chance to go back and look at that first blood. Again, brought to you by Respawn. That way we can have a chance to see exactly how Zyrhoes ended up taking that spill.
Cyno really did just blink on top of Zyrhoes with that full Acorn and insta-kill him. Cyno didn't go for anything else. Zyrhoes only level 1, so didn't have his dash. Had no way to get away at that point.
That wasn't even really Moswal's damage either. It was mostly just Cyno catching him out. A very good play from Cyno here on this Ratatoskr. And I think what we've seen from Splyce that's impressed me more than anything is just depth. It's variety. I mean, Cyno's gotten it done now on 3 different picks. I mean, there's no way you're banning this guy out and putting him on something he can't perform. Now, this is just the beginning. And maybe this Ratatoskr won't hit home. It won't be enough. But it's been so impressive from him so far.
He has, excuse me, set himself behind a little bit, though, without that Assassin's Blessing. So that's why Qvo was able to get a small lead in that jungle, why he could get on that blue buff invade, because even with the extra damage that the Acorn provides you, you just don't have that same level of clear. Assassin's Blessing does so much to help you clear those jungle camps. So now Cyno backs and picks it up after the fact. So he already got his first blood, set Zyrhoes a bit behind, and now can use that extra gold, get that Assassin's Blessing, and get himself off on the right foot.
There's a lot of options available to the Ratatoskr and what he's able to do with this build path. Sometimes you'll see him start, you know, with like the tier 1 to some pen, and he'll build up the boot or the Acorn while he's out. This is a different one we're seeing, where you just forego the Assassin's Blessing altogether and use that early movement speed, that early power spike that you're able to grab from the Acorn to set up some early kills. And it shouldn't set him back really at all. It should still be in a comfortable spot. though Qvofred is a bit out in front experience-wise.
And that's where you want it if you're Dignitas, in my mind. I mean, you really want to play around Qvo in this game, set up for Zyrhoes. That has been the name of the game for a lot of what Dignitas has done so far this year.
Could be some trouble now for Variety. Very little mana. The stun is perfect as well. Now the Prot Shed there, Taunt pulls him right back in, but a chance for Variety has made it back out. Qvofred gets here just in time, and Splyce don't have enough.
Man, so close there. If Cyno's level 4, that's a kill, guaranteed. Yep. It's just that extra little bit that he lost from not going Assassin's Blessing. It meant he got first blood, but it also means that he doesn't get the kill there on the Variety.
Impressive response here from Dignitas, and I thought so in game 2 as well. Even though they're down 2-0 and they've got to fight back from this hole, I think Dignitas showed some great perseverance. They were never really down that much until we got to the end game, and they almost even had a chance to take it on that last Titan push. And even here now, with Splyce finding that solo kill for Sino in mid lane, that's so devastating. They respond correctly to that duo lane aggression, to Divios being over there from the solo lane in duo helping them out. Dignitas are showing their ability to adapt over these games.
They've played very well from behind. I just need to see them be able to get a lead. I said that at the end of game 2. I think it still rings true here. I need to see them be able to dictate the pace of this game, and Splyce done a great job of not allowing that to happen. That includes Sino putting himself behind Qvofred to set Zyrhoes behind a little bit. That counts in my mind, and Splyce has been the one that's been dictating all these engagements for the most part. I want to see Dignitas get a bit aggressive, but Zyrhoes on the Thoth means that's going to be pretty difficult to do, at least around the mid lane. That's a much more late game character.
It is going to be tough for Dignitas to try and play through there. It is a bit surprising even to me that we see Zyrhoes fall back to this Thoth, which has been a pick that we haven't seen as much of lately. But I think it might be part of what you were talking about. Recognition that these games have been going later and later, that they need someone who can be safe in the backline and provide big damage, even in those sieges around the objectives. That's what Zyrhoes will be able to provide in a big way in these fights.
Absolutely, I completely agree. He also did play it against Space Station kind of in the dark earlier on this tournament, but I think that this is just a comfort pick for Zyrhoes. Zyrhoes has never been known to have a large god pool. You just know that the gods he does play, he plays better than you.
Yes.
It's pretty simple in that regard. Zyrhoes didn't feel like switching it up off the Thoth when many other mid laners have, but he's been able to prove, at least through one game, that it was able to work against Space Station. We'll see if it works here against Splyce.
And the pace has slowed a little bit. This is a bit surprising from Splyce as they've played just as aggressive as they can all set long. It's felt like on the back of some Finward play, on the back of some aggressive supports. They do have now a slightly more traditional draft with the 2 Guardians, which meaning they have 2 actual frontliners as this solo fight. Now, a little bit interesting over here, but it should be okay for Divios. He makes it right back out. So this is going to look maybe a little bit more like what you're used to seeing from other teams, depending on how Sino builds. So maybe we won't be seeing that just straight up aggressiveness as much as before.
Splyce's late game team fight is also very good. I mean, Dignitas, theirs is very mechanics dependent. You need to have Qvo hit a big sonic boom. Trixtank needs to hit that Naja ultimate. Final Judgment needs to find a home. Whereas Splyce has a lot of AoE, a lot of disruption, a lot of CC coming from these Guardians. Sino has that big knockup. CycloneSpin turns off the lights. I mean, it's going to be difficult to fight into all of that if that initial engagement isn't absolutely perfect from Dignitas.
And I really like this aura around Splyce that started to develop, where they don't often play by trying to deceive you. You know what I mean? They very much like to play. They go, well, what are you gonna do about it? It feels like that's what they constantly are asking you. Like, what if I just do this? Like, what are they gonna? How are they gonna respond to that? And that's just kind of how they play. You know, it's what Divios is like. It's what Aror is like in all their aspects. So I'm glad we're seeing that so clearly coming through now in the way that Splyce plays.
And it's really earned themselves a 2-0 victory so far through the first 2 games. I don't think Dignitas is a team that is incapable of winning 3. I just feel like it's an uphill battle for them because they're battling against a really, really hot team right now that continues to get more and more momentum. They're battling against the crowd. They're battling against the fact that they've had land struggles before, and that does start to creep into your mind.
Qvofred wants Divios on the right-hand side. Sonic Boom didn't land there for the stun, and Divios has a chance, but can't get the ultimate channeled in time. He will indeed fall. Qvofred, a little bit of help coming in from Trixtank too, and they bring down the kill.
A little surprised that Divios doesn't just try and walk out of there. I feel like that might have been a better option. He gets himself close enough that Variety's guaranteed to hit the whole combo on him.
Arkkyl has to use the beats early on. Cyno, though, wants to dive for it, and why not? Finds the return kill. Splyce, even it up 2 for 2, and it's where they've made their hay all set long. It's aggression in the duo lane. Sure, maybe Divios takes a couple spills. I don't know how much that bothers Splyce's game plan.
Very little, actually. And again, it's Cyclone going for this boots rush, whereas Arkkyl went for his Devourer's gauntlets early on. So he just doesn't have the movement speed to get away from Cyno once he blinks on top of him.
Not nearly in the same way that CycloneSpin could, and that's why we've seen this continued aggression. And that's an adjustment that we might have needed to see. It's a bit too late for that one now. He's already committed to this path. But something to make him a little bit more able to box in this early game. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I'm very surprised. There's been so much action in duo lane from minute 1 that I'm surprised that Arkkyl is willing to continually go this slower route. If he's confident, though, in their ability to make it through to late, obviously in the mid game, you're going to prefer to have this Devourer's Gauntlet stacked ahead of CycloneSpin, but just can you make it there and get an impact out of it?
Trixtank on this left-hand side. Sash is good. Beams necessary from Cyclone.
But Defender of Olympus, remember, is still there for Divios, so that should shut down this aggression. In fact, Divios charging forward a bit. Cyno is up onto the tree in the backside as well as now Arkkyl has nowhere to go. The knockup, he goes for Trixtank instead. They find the kill on Arkkyl first. Now can they keep CycloneSpin alive? Major look. Qvofred enters back.
All varieties here. Big Earth and Fury claps him down. Cyno, that's a double kill for Qvo.
Looking good out of the jungle. A two-man taunt for Divios, but he's all alone here. There's no one for the follow-up, and Qvofred just barely makes it back out. But now look at this, Aror's making his way to the fight as well, and Variety might have overstayed his welcome.
Aror's here, but Divios just doesn't have that damage. Great rotation from Dignitas. That's exactly what they needed. Arkkyl did nothing in that fight because of a great rotation over from Splyce. That taunt to pull him out of the dash before he gets to the wall. That was hot.
But it's still impressive. That looked like a fight that should have been Splyce's from the moment that Cyno went up into the air. But I think it was a bit of a, maybe not a disconnect, but just trust that they'd be able to pick up both of those kills in that situation. If they all-in commit, maybe it is overkill, but onto one, I think they're able to safely disengage on the back end of it a little bit more.
Exactly. Cyno's idea to go for tricks right there was well-intentioned, but I don't know that he saw Qvo in time where he really could have used that ultimate as a scouting drone, basically. You're the UAV in that spot, see the Qvos coming over, and then just wait to interrupt that sonic boom.
A much better game, though, so far. If you're a Dignitas fan, maybe you can start to breathe a small sigh of relief here because it looks like the boys still have their heads in the right place, which is a credit to them in and of itself. I mean, you're down 2-0 in a match where you all are the favorites to win, in an environment where everyone wants Splyce to grab the victory, where Aror brought everyone he knew here in Splyce jerseys, and they've been able to show up in a big way. Somehow Dignitas still have the medal. They still are confident enough to be able to try and grab this win as Trixtank takes CycloneSpin up into the air.
Arkyl's gonna be his only help. There's no one else here. Cyclone getting low, but not low enough, and now it's Trix who has to get on the run.
Because Cyno's going up onto the tree. Trixtank locked down by the damage from Aror, but the knockup from Cyno right into the stun. One of the easiest kills of Cyno's young life as he takes down Trix.
Easy rotation, and Trix just too aggressive from there. I don't know if that's his call to go in on the Cyclone. I know he didn't have beads, but Arkyl's damage just isn't going to be enough to get that finishing blow from even that health.
And he wasn't there in time. There was no way the follow-up was going to be there as Arkkyl brings CycloneSpin very, very low. Cyclone was confident. I don't know if maybe Rising Jaguar was on cooldown or what, but he was willing to roll the dice.
And he's going to lose a wave for underneath this tower for it, whereas Arkkyl, instead of trying to push and get some extra damage on that tower, which he's done quite a bit of, especially on this Chernobog, because it's so good at split pushing later on, you want to open up the map. Instead he goes to group up with the team, just make sure that everyone's on the same page.
So now the backs coming out from Arkkyl and the rest of the boys. They'll fall back and breathe they'll have a bit of a moment to try and breathe as they've managed to keep this game much more even in the early game than we've seen early on. And it's not as if Splyce have run away to 4,000 gold leads right out of the gate, but at least they've been able to have, maybe 1,000, 2,000, some experience their way. This is the first early game where that little bit of a margin is actually in Dig's favor. They're up 1,300 experience. They're up a bit of gold as well. Dignitas looking much better than we've seen so far. Exactly.
So now, where are they going to take this lead? That's the big question for me. How is Dignitas going to play this map now that they're the ones that have even the slightest advantage? Because Splyce did a great job of exploiting even the smallest little windows of buff invades and Gold Fury pulls and Pyromancer pulls. Let's see what Dig can do with the same.
No one else around here in the dual lane, so this should just be more about clearing the wave. Aror being very patient, trying to make sure CycloneSpin's able to show up. The rest of Dignitas, though, had a small grouping in the middle lane, but they were able to find nothing more there. But you're right. Your point there for Dignitas about where it is they're going to try and find their aggression. We talked about it already. It couldn't be Zyrhoes early, but level 12 already are both these mid laners. They're starting to get some items online. Looks like Kronos was the first item past boot for Zyrhoes. I mean, could they start to play to this Thoth even now?
Yes, but he still needs a large degree of setup. In the late game, Zyrhoes can hieroglyphic assault and final judgment someone and insta-kill them all by himself. But at this point, he's still going to need a Sonic Boom from Qvofred or Windfire Wheels from Trixtank to be that, not just setup to guarantee the hit, but the extra damage that he'll need as well to guarantee that that'll actually end in a kill.
Trixtank can't find the sash, so Cyno will make it out. We talked about how much pressure there's going to be on Trixtank, but this is a high execution comp from Dignitas. The pressure is really on all the members of this team to try and make sure they're finding the right moments. Remember how well Divios able to find those Blink Earth and Furies in game 1? Well, Variety's got to make sure he has that same level of impact. That's what can make Terra feel so oppressive when she's instantly hitting everyone with that big ultimate. Qvofred has got to hit at least 2 people with every one of these Sonic Booms, a carry and one of these tanks to try and slow down the peel. They've got to be almost perfect with these ultimates if they want to be able to take down Splyce.
I completely agree, and this late game is exactly where Splyce and Dignitas are going to take this, it feels like, because unless something happens around a Gold Fury in the next 3 minutes, it feels like there's going to be a pretty slow pace, as it usually is in elimination games.
Yes.
Teams tend to try to slow it down because they know the stakes are so high.
Splyce, perhaps hearing what you said, looking for some aggression to Trixtank, or at the very least Aror is, as he often does. But they will find very little to grab in terms of buffs. The purple buff is there, and Cyno will steal that one, so they strip a little bit of farm, but Trixtank wants to make him pay. He locks down Aror with the sash. Defender of Olympus comes down, and Cyno's up in the air as well, looking for the knock up there, trapped by the Darkest of the Nights. Thoth pulls Trixtank back in, and Cyno gets the kill.
Earth and Fury there from Variety, but where's the help? Arkkyl's got that living nightmare, he's coming.
Locked down inside, the ultimate coming out from Moswal, but it's not doing much to Variety, who's very tanky at this point, but it's more to push on the disengage. No way for Dignitas to try and keep fighting and punish on the back end of that, and Splyce find the purple buff, they find the fights, and start to try and pull back this game to try and get a little bit more control in their favor.
Trixtank was just being a little bit too patient with his ultimate that time around. He's waiting. Maybe I can hit a roar from here, but he's already got so much tankiness there, and then Defender of Olympus. And then when Darkest of Nights comes out, the CC chain was absurd onto Naja, and Trix never getting his ultimate off is a pretty good way for Dignitas to not win a team fight.
And I was saying from the beginning, I think that most of the pressure is on Trixtank in this game because he's been the one that's gotten punished more than anyone else based on his positioning, because he is the support on the team, and he's on Naja, whose timings have to be perfect if you're going to win your games. If you're sashing, if you're making that commitment in, then you better be sure we're about to win on the back end of it, right? If you're taking someone up into the air and everyone knows where you're landing, well, it better be mostly blue jerseys around you. It's a lot that Trixtank has to make sure he's keeping track of, as Arkkyl is able to find his way into the wall, but Divios can't get the taunt. That's still not going to be enough. Arkkyl recognizing he's dead to rights. A killing spree for Cyno.
Cyno just dictating the pace again. 5-1-1. He's been a part of every single Splyce kill so far, and he's gotten 5 out of 6 for himself.
And this is what was so devastating about games 1 and 2. Even when they did everything right, hold that thought as Zyrhoes gets taunted back in. It's Cyno. Of course it is. Feeds to get away from the sash as well, but locked down by Trixtank. Great support play from the Naja. But look at the Gold Fury. Splyce grabbed that on the back end. One more objective going the way of the North Americans.
Divios has to try and escape he will. Qvo's got to use his dash as well. Beautiful zone from Splyce, and really they should have had more, but just great peel from Trix to save Zyrhoes.
And this is what Splyce have done better than anyone else. As Darkest of Nights come out, and now they want Trixtank. Taunt pulls him back in the root there as well. Moswal gets it done in the end. They will lose the Zeus on the backside. Variety finds that, but now Dignitas might be too far committed. A double for Variety out of solo. Sonic Boom rips through as well, but is it going to be enough?
Divios there. His taunt already got interrupted once. Cyno does take down Arkkyl, but Zyrhoes is back.
But now Qvofred is committed. Aror left on the backside. He's duking out with Variety, has the claws, but Zyrhoes has all the answers, the mana and all the damage. That's enough to take down Aror. Moves in with evade and punish. Finds one more on the Cyno. That's 4 coming in for Dig.
Just too greedy from Splyce to use that much to kill Trix. I mean, that was the taunt and the lightning storm, and Moswal just left alone because all the tanks are right on top of Trix. Even with Darkest of Nights there, Dignitas are able to sneak their way in the back line and take down Moswal very early.
But goodness gracious, I don't know what you thought you were doing on a Saturday, but you better be here, man. These games have been so impressive from minute one in day one. Space Station played better than anyone thought they had any right to do. Trifecta looked so impressive. So did Splyce, and we ended up losing a United. Rival came roaring out of the gates. None of these games have been predictable. None of them have been blowouts. It's been so even, so impressive from every team here. I don't see how you can think about getting up and walking away right now, not with how well these teams are playing.
It's been very, very impressive thus far, and Dignitas, even after that last fight, looked like it was going to go Splyce's way. Splyce gets a Gold Fury, and Dignitas is still in the lead. This is exactly what Dig needed to stay in the driver's seat. They were in it for the first little bit. I was wondering what they were going to do. Splyce is able to battle back, but Dignitas still with the slightest of leads.
They're holding on to it for everything they can, but doesn't all the momentum feel like it's in favor of Splyce? Maybe it would be a little bit more if Zyrhoes doesn't clean up so much on the back end of that fight.
Yes.
I think that's what really hurts them so much, is that they do end up a bit overcommitted. And a lot of these kills are on the Qvofred, which is a big help. But Trixtank, yet again, is looking for the taunts, but there's no way for Zyrhoes to follow up. The Darkest of Nights is just too good. He managed to dodge just barely to avoid the stun, but Cyno not done yet. They want Trixtank on the Najah. Qvo finds CycloneSpin, but they are not done yet.
Trix still alive. Cyno gonna change his direction. Aror takes care of one support, but Moswal goes down.
Cyno finds Zero. A lot of the damage now has been eliminated, but all the carries from Splyce are gone. Are they gonna be able to get this done with just the tanks?
Aror right in the thick of everything. Variety right there. Qvo getting low. Big taunt coming out of Divios in 3 in a row for Variety before Sino finds Arkkyl.
It was 1 for 1 for a moment, but now it's 2 for 1. 4 for 3 is the total there in that fight. Only Variety still standing for Dig. Only 2 members standing right now for Splyce, and Cyno could get hunted down by Variety.
I don't know. Variety's going to need to hit everything if he wants to get a chance to hit that. The crowd's still feeling really good about Splyce's chances.
And I think they should. What an impressive fight from Splyce. And really, what an impressive performance from Cyno. I don't know if any individual at this LAN has stepped up the way this young man has here at this event today. Every single game has had his name all over it.
8, 2, and 4. Again, every kill that Splyce has Cyno's stamp all over it. He has been great on the Najah. You can't give him that. We're gonna start I'm gonna start tweeting, you can't play against Cyno.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't give him Najah, Erlong, Ratatoskr, or Willix, whatever. The dude's just an animal. He really went from, yeah, he's pretty good, he's got his gods, but you can ban him off, to, is this dude a legitimate contender for best jungler in the world right now?
And the way he is playing right now, I think that is the kind of case that you can make, because Cyno is looking just that good. Now remember, the rest of this team has been playing excellently around him. Aror has really been consistently a dominant force here in this match as well. You can't handle his pressure. CycloneSpin has come into his own as well in the Hunter role. Splyce all together looking so unbeatable. And all of that together makes me more impressed with Dignitas than they've ever been, because every game they've been right there with them hanging on. But as you said, that's only going to get you so far. Right now, it's gotten them to 0-2. They got to find some kind of way to turn that into their advantage.
I agree. I think we may have been done by now with any other team on the planet. I really feel like Dignitas has taken the brunt of this and been able to stay standing is incredible. But they haven't had much to show for it so far. The post-Reddit thread will be 2-0 so far. And if it ends up 3-0, then it won't be all about how Dignitas was playing really well. It'll be, holy crap, Splyce is really that good.
And they've absolutely earned every bit of that. The Gold Fury should be responding here in just a moment. Remember, Splyce have already grabbed the only successful Gold Fury of the game. We'll see if they want to move there, but look at that, in a hurry. We've gotten to 21.5 minutes into this game, and as you already said, these all have relatively gone long, about 40 minutes or so, and Dignitas very comfortable playing that, but so is Splyce. These teams are in no rush at this point, Ryan.
They're both very comfortable with this sort of position. Dignitas should be comfortable playing these close games against Splyce by now. I mean, Splyce has been a real tough opponent for them so far, but this time around, Qvo sitting at 4-1-5. He's had a really good performance on this Mercury.
Rage done.
Rage already evolved at this point, whereas before, when he finished that Height of the Urchin, he had 0 stacks on the Rage. So a much better look for Dignitas in the jungle, and in solo. Variety also 3-0-7. Very far along in that build. Already has his E-staff done, working on what's probably going to be a Spirit Robe.
But it really does feel like this could so much rely on these mid laners now, because you're right, the solo and jungle are so close their contributions are going to be equal. What about Thoth, though, and this Zeus, as Divios is forced to ultimate away, right over to the Gold Fury. What a call from Splyce. But can they get this one done? Dignitas still do have Variety and Trixtank nearby.
Zyrhoes very close as well, and very, very healthy on that Thoth. So cute, but no cigar for Splyce on that. I do think that Zyrhoes and Qvo are the men to watch going into this late game. I mean, Arkkyl has been set behind pretty significantly in that duo lane. I mean, it looks like similar builds right now, but Cyclone has a Rage with an extra 2 stacks on it in comparison to a bridge item that is Ichabal. So even though they've got the same number of slots with full completes, Cyclones just do more right now than what Arkkyl has.
That's right, he's got more impactful items at this point for CycloneSpin. And he's been the more impactful player, at least up until now. Can he keep that going in this game, though? Arkkyl in a much better position now on this Chernobog with his team playing better around him. And Qvofred perhaps to try and draw some of that attention away. But again, for me, this really does come down to these mid-lane mages. Can Zyrhoes, with the final judgment, can he have the same impact that Moswal could potentially have with that Lightning Storm? I mean, his ultimate from Moswal, if he placed it perfectly, can be so big in a team fight.
But Dignitas has done a really good job of spreading out, and that's one of the things about Darkest of Nights, it kind of naturally makes you spread out, and so that Lightning Storm doesn't always get quite as much value as it usually would in those spots.
Sino goes aggressively as Trixtank, unable to find the ultimate there to get up into their Windfire wheels, and Sino is able to clean him up on the back end after using the ultimate. Another big fight for Splyce.
Beautiful beads there by Cyclone. Variety gets erased as well by Moswal.
And this could be trouble as the dash gets stopped by Sino's stun. Is there waiting for him on the back end? He's got to run for his life. But Divios breaks in with the taunt and pulls him right back in. CycloneSpin leaves him no options.
Zyrhoes now here on the map to try and save it, but where is Splyce gonna go?
You know where
Cyclone is gonna hit the back as he gets ready to head right towards Fire Giant.
Yeah, of course they are. Why settle for Gold Fury? 24.5 minutes in, and their tournament lives on the line. Dignitas now have to wait as it's Splyce who move over to the Fire Giant, and there's not really a way for Dig to answer.
Now, that was all started because Cyclone's beads on the beautiful Naja ult from Trix was just flawless, and that puts Trix in a bad spot. That brings everyone else out of the way, and that means that Splyce is able to take the team fight afterwards. Variety, I don't know that he even got Earth and Fury off during that fight.
Well, another Fire Giant. We like to say free around here, but that one was as earned as they come in a game that felt even, if not slightly in Dig's favor. The entirety of it has just swung back in Splyce's favor up the back of a very impressive fight around the Gold Fury. And as we've said every game, the Fire Giant buff itself, as strong as it is nowhere near as impactful as grabbing all these towers that they're about to collect.
So much gold on the map again. Splyce has really done a poor job of getting towers down before the team fighting phase. They really don't group up very well to get towers, but that's by design. They're just playing around the objectives, understanding that's gold in the bank. They'll get it later. Now they've come to collect all that gold on the map. Plenty of it. 5K ready and waiting for them to get at this point, or more. I mean, it's crazy how much they can get with Gold Fury on top of that. This gold lead is going to get really ugly really fast.
The Dignitas do have a Thoth on their team, very good from the defensive position. Is that going to be enough, though, to slow down Splyce? They've done such a good job spreading these fights out and being able to find isolated targets. A lot of that, I think, you can place at the feet of Sino, who's played this Ratatoskr very, very well so far. Are they going to be able to spread out Dignitas as well around these Phoenixes?
That's the question, and that's where Lightning Storm comes into play, and that's where Darkest of Nights comes into play. Those ultimates are what you're going to use and really lean on if you're Splyce in order to get these Phoenixes down.
Splyce now moving into left side. Phoenix and Dignitas have got to show up here to try and start making their defense. They don't have any other options. They won't get any other tries. They have to make the defense happen. Darkest of Nights comes out. Sino up into the air and already forced to retreat. Sonic Boom is good from Qvo, but he doesn't find enough. Moswal drops down the Lightning Storm, and Sino is able to find Zyrhoes. Two-man stun comes out from Aror as well. He sends two running. That means Splyce can go diving in. Taunt lands on Arkkyl. He gets pulled back in as well. Ake is good, but buys him a moment. Variety falls on the backside. Arkkyl hides inside the wall, clinging on the life, but Divios won't let him. One more comes out for Splyce.
There's no way. They just wiped Dignitas. Only two members left standing. Are they going to go for it right here?
They absolutely are. This is it. Splyce with a chance to move on to your Dreamhack Atlanta Finals. Only Qvofred and Trixtank are still alive, but dash in. Taunt. Moswal takes Trixtank down. Now onto the Titan. No way for Qvofred to defend. And Splyce are going to take the set 3-0.
from 1 win to finals in a year. This Splyce team is hotter than the sun right now. God bless for whatever team's coming out of lower bracket.
Good luck. Yeah.
Because you are stepping onto the train tracks against Splyce.
And this is something we do not see, right? They talk about this in traditional sports all the time. Like football is one where you can get best to worst very easily. We see it all the time, that turnover. This is a little bit more like basketball where you don't see it happen that often, this collection of talent. But what Splyce have been able to do is so impressive here today, and they've done it a variety of ways. If you're in the finals, not only is this team hot, but what did you learn from this set just now? There's no blueprint. What did Dig show you here that you can try and replicate? Nothing.
Unbelievable. And for all the stories about Dignitas and they don't perform at LAN and all this, I don't want to hear a word about it. That was the closest 3-0 you'll see. Dignitas had a great year. They just hit the wrong day. I mean, they hit the wrong teams. I don't think it's the day anymore for Splyce. Splyce is that hot right now. And Dignitas had a great year. They should feel very proud of making it all the way to the semifinals. They just came up against a team that's hotter than anyone on the planet right now.
And now North America sent themselves into the final. Splyce on a 3-0 have very much earned this position. Over on the desk, that we'll be able to get our thoughts from our analysts as they break down that set.
Thank you so much, Finch. And again, as I've been saying after each game, how do you even break this down? Because it seemed very even in the early and mid game, and then just Splyce was like, nope, just kidding, we won.
The backline penetration, Cyno on the Ratatoskr, you pair that up with CycloneSpin's Darkest of Night's ultimate, Zyrhoes switching things up between Discordia and Thoth, still didn't have much breathing room.
I think it's one problem again, like there's not that tank killer they need, like Thoth, Discord, it doesn't do too much to tanks, like again, Splyce have the Zeus, it just kills the tanks.
Yeah.
It's the same problem I feel like.
Do you think that there was a turning point in that game that really gave Splyce the advantage?
I mean, it was that one team fight specifically where they engage around the Gold Fury. Sino blinks past the Mercury dash to intercept it as well, and Splyce just goes straight for the Fire Giant. And that was like 2 minutes even before the game ended in that case.
I don't, how do you even review that? Like, what is the, okay, so they're gonna be going up against the winner of Trifecta versus Rival. How do you even, as one of those two teams, watching these games, learn and take anything from Splyce?
It's got to be protecting your dueling. Every consistent strategy I've seen has been disrupting from game number 1, Divios is there. From game number 2, Divios is there. And game number 3, nothing has much changed.
But even Divios being there, Dig responded and also had a 3-man on the duo lane for a little bit. It just
didn't work out. Game number 2, it was a quick kill onto Trixtank. He jumps in, he gets baited out into a sticky situation.
Lasbra, what is there even to add to this?
I don't know what to say. I'm pretty sad that the European Dignitas is out, like my good friends. I really hope they will find a victory, but Splyce with the 3-0. But I would say Dignitas played close. It was close games, but there's like those turning fights at the goal field, especially like 2 games. Around the goal field is just where it turns, and like then Splyce is taking the lead.
A lot of that came down to the great reaction Splyce had to Trixtank's ultimates. The beads from CycloneSpin was perfectly timed. The stun, I believe, happened to a frontliner of Splyce, and he tried to do the fancy switch off onto CycloneSpin. Read like a book. CycloneSpin was just A-OK from there, and there was a big turning point there.
I believe we're giving our MVP to Sino for that game, correct?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how could you not? That everywhere. He was just everywhere. And now you know that you can't ban him out.
The Ratatoskr in game 3 is what really surprises me, considering that Sino, you know, he's had some experience in the SPL, but this is the biggest platform he's ever been on. And the fact that he's shown up here in such a dominating fashion breathes a lot of life to Splyce heading into the finals.
Lasbra, this is the last time that we're going to be having you up on the desk for the HRX presented by Mixer. Is there anything you want to say before we toss it to the team interview?
Thank you for having me on the desk. I really appreciate that. And nude.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lasbra. But I'm really interested to see what Splyce has to say with that amazing 3-0 victory. In just a moment, just kidding everyone, but I know that I'm really excited to hear what these players have to say. They must be feeling really good.
If you're here at the crowd, you can definitely feel the energy that the North American fans were giving them throughout the entire set, and you can see their reactions after winning game number 3. Sino was ecstatic.
It was hard for me to actually watch the game because I was watching CycloneSpin's parents react to CycloneSpin, getting like a double kill on Apollo and how happy they were. I love just what HRX does for all of the Smite players and fans and brings them together, and it gives you this opportunity to really experience the game on a different level.
It's a community, and you can just tell the emotion. Cyno there on your screen. CycloneSpin's parents as well. When Apollo was in the air in game number 2, his parents were just waiting with bated breath.
Lasbro, thank you so much for joining us here on the Alienware Analyst Desk, and I'm excited to see you later on. But everyone, we do have that interview right now with Splyce.
I'm here with Splyce after a very strong performance in the semifinals to make their way to the finals. The first thing I just have to ask is, how does it feel for you all to win, and to win in a 3-0 looking so strong?
I mean, it feels great. There's not much more to say about it. Yeah, I mean, coming into today's games, we all felt really good and confident that we could do well, and we just played our game again, and we won, and we feel awesome.
Tom Banninger here. I talk a lot about team identity. You guys are the raw ball of energy. Playing in front of the crowd, I know you guys have a lot of supporters here. What's that like compared to LAN other places?
I mean, it's always, like, playing in front of a crowd is always awesome. Have you played in front? Yeah, you played at Xbox Worlds. Has Moswal played in front of a crowd? Yeah. Do you like it, Moswal? Yeah.
Do you like people cheering for you?
Did it help bring the win?
Yeah, it helps a lot, honestly.
Well, Sino, I mean, I want to ask you, man. I mean, you've really stepped up here in this event, and so rarely do we list you with some of our top junglers or top performers. But I think so far at this LAN, you're clear in front out there as the best. How does it feel to be able to perform this well for your team?
I mean, you can't give me Deja, you can't give me Erlang, you can't give me Achilles, you can't give me a Wheelix, and you can't give me Rat. Good luck whoever we play in finals.
So much adrenaline on this desk.
I want to say one thing, too, about Cyno. At the beginning of the season, we didn't have him on the team, but he was the hardest jungler for me to play against as a support, too. So, I mean, adding him to the team was just, like, an amazing thing to do, because all the other junglers don't put as much pressure as he does on the entire enemy team.
I love that you brought up the Wheelish. I want to dive deeper into the X's and O's. Fenrir and Odin have ran placements and final. I've been looking for the Wheelish. Why did it come out? How did that conversation go?
I mean, we were scrimming. We were losing a lot of scrims to those gods.
Like, yeah.
And then, I forget who said it, but someone's like, "Wait, what about a Wheelix?"
That was me.
And I'm like, "Oh, I can play a Wheelix and just farm these gods and make them not be able to do anything." So, basically, just losing scrims.
And the thing about Wheelix is that people aren't used to playing against her because she hasn't been in the meta for so long. So, like, she's a hard god to play against to get used to again, like, when people start playing her.
You saw it in that game, too. Like, Trix kept jumping when he couldn't jump.
And Moswal, this last one here is for you. How does it feel? You get the Opwatch basically perma-banned against you, and you're like, "Ah, fine, I'll just go to the Zeus and just play that." I mean, how does it feel for you?
Feels really good. Just pick big circles or squares and you kill everybody.
All right, well, very strong performance. Congratulations to you all, and very much good luck to you in the finals. It's been great watching your run so far.
Thank you.
Thank you.
HRX is brought to you by hi-rez Studios, INAP, Mixer, Alienware, and Skillshot.